Real estate agents, I know you want to close more business, and today I'm going to give you the optimum conversation structure to ensure that you do exactly that. Close more business, be more efficient, and get better results faster for both yourself and your customer. So as a broker and owner of a real estate firm, we have over 100 agents here in the Tri-County market. I've been coaching agents all over the United States for many, many years, and one thing I know is absolutely true, and that is our job, our number one job, is to be great communicators. Unfortunately, most people either haven't mastered that craft or aren't putting the effort into mastering that craft. And so today I'm going to give you a simple 5-part conversation framework for you to follow in every conversation that you have, okay? Within the 5 parts, there's going to be a secondary 5-part structure that I'm going to go over here as well. So here we go. Every conversation is an opportunity for you to progress your business forward and change somebody's life, right? The problem that we solve is someone lives here and they want to live over here, okay? And so effective communication is how we're going to accomplish that objective. When agents come to me and they say, you know, this buyer, this seller, I can't get them to progress, I can't get them to follow my lead, right? We don't convince anybody to do anything. What we do is we educate and empower people through great information to make the best decisions for them, but there's got to be a structure on how we do that, right? So here we go. 5-part conversation structure. Number 1, and by the way, you've probably heard the phrase always be closing, right? ABC. Here's what I'll say. Always be opening and closing. Okay, so number 1 is relationship. You've got to either open, establish, define, or reopen, reestablish, or redefine the relationship. How do you relate with each other, okay? Whether you know each other from a past life, a specific circle, a job, you went to college together, they're your neighbors, referred by a friend, however you may know that person or you're getting to know that person by opening the relationship, you've got to establish it, right? So relate, okay? That's the key word inside of relationship is relate, okay? Number 2 is build connection. The reality is people like to do business with people that they like. You can't do business with someone who you have no connection with. It's just very, very hard. You're being more transactional. I teach agents to become more transformational, and the way you do that is you build a genuine, authentic, and real connection with people, okay? So relationship, connection. Number 3 is qualify. Unfortunately, in my experience, I've seen agents run around with buyers and or attempt to list homes for sellers that aren't truly qualified prospects for their businesses. They may be suspects, but aren't actually prospects, right? And I said that I was going to give you another 5-part framework. I'm going to give you the 5 parts of how to qualify right now, okay? So this is 3A. Number 1 in qualifying is you've got to know the prospect motivation. Okay, why are we doing this? Buying and selling a home is a big decision. It's a big life event, right? It's not a point of purchase decision. You're not sitting in the grocery aisle saying, I'll take a couple of houses with my grocery order today, right? That's ridiculous. We really have to understand what is the underlying motivation for why a buyer would engage the process to buy or why a seller would consider putting their home on the market, uprooting their lives, and moving to a new place to live, okay? So motivation. There are essentially 3 categories of motivation, right? Number 1 for both buyer and seller is a life event, right? The positive life events, getting married, new baby, first home, retiring, second home in a beautiful location like sunny South Florida, right? Or the more negative life events such as death, divorce, lost my job, etc., right? Those are, from a real estate agent's perspective, the most important, that's the most important category of motivation because there's something happening that's precipitating more of a need than a want, right? We want to work with customers that need to transact rather than just want to transact. Okay, so life event. Number 2 for a buyer is they're renting, they want to own. And they've come to understand that the renting equation is not in their best interest any longer. Owning is a more suitable choice for them at this stage in their lives, and you've helped kind of map that out. By the way, I'm not here saying that buying and owning is always better than renting. Sometimes renting is better for a person at that stage in their life. Either way, renter that wants to become a buyer. And then the third is an investor, someone who owns and operates income-producing property or buys property to buy, fix, and sell. That's on the buyer side. On the seller side, also 3 categories of motivation. Number 1 being that life event. Number 2 is going to be someone who wants to cash out. Maybe it's a second home, it's an investment, and I want to access that equity. The only way I can access my equity in a home is either getting a line of credit, I still own the home, but now I have a debt obligation, or I sell the home and access that equity, which is the asset that I have. Or number 3, the dreaded fishing trip. That's when a seller says, well, if I can get such and such price, I'd put my house on the market. I can tell you, real estate agents, that is a low-level motivation that, frankly, you want to stay away from, because you're going to end up spinning your wheels, wasting your time, because that seller is not truly motivated to sell their home. I'm not suggesting people aren't entitled to do what they want. It's their house, and if you're an agent that wants to go on fishing trips, you'll be the bait. But go ahead and go on that fishing trip. Now, the only time you want to push the market beyond where the market really sits is if there's another underlying motivation. We're going to test the market, but you've already agreed with the home seller on a pricing strategy if the market doesn't come to their doorstep because they're on a fishing trip instead of a real motivation. Okay, so again, number 1 for qualifying is motivation. Number 2 is motivation scale, right? How important is to you? And I like to quantify things. So what I ask home sellers is, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, the most important, how important is it to you to sell your house? How important is it to you to buy this second home, or whatever the case might be, whatever the motivation is, right? So number 2 is motivation scale. That way, for you as a real estate agent, you know how to allocate your time and energy. Right? If you've got a level 5 motivation scale for someone versus a level 10 motivation scale, we work on contingency. We got to work on the cases we can win, right? So you're going to work on a level 10 motivation before you're going to work on a level 5 motivation all day long, okay? So you've got to quantify it, and in my experience having coached agents, most people don't do that, right? It's like, oh, you want to buy a house? Great, let's set up the showings, right? Meanwhile, you don't really have a motivated prospect. You've got a suspect, a tire kicker. That's fine. Everybody's entitled to do what they want in the world. My message is for real estate agents who want to do more deals, make more money, be more effective in their communication so that they can earn more money and take care of their families. Okay. Number 3 is buy when. Okay, the wrong question is, what's your time frame? The right question is, by when, Mr. Home Buyer, do you want to own this new home? By when, Mr. Home Seller, do you no longer want to own this home? And then we work backwards from there, right? The by when question is the most important question to understand how you're going to allocate your time and energy. If you have a home seller that's got a strong motivation scale, but they're 12 months out, you're not going to allocate as much energy today as you would what I call a now customer, which is in the next 1 to 4 months they want to own or they no longer want to own, right? So by when. Number 4 is for a buyer, how are you going to pay? Okay. Too many times I'll hear agents say, well, what's your budget? And while that's an appropriate question, it's not the best one. Okay. By the way, the best real estate agents, the best salespeople ask the best questions. I'm giving them to you now. So how are you going to pay, Mr. Buyer? Of course, there's only 2 answers. I'm going to get financing or I'm going to pay cash. Okay. The follow-up question is getting financing. Have you been pre-approved by a lender? If they have not, then it's really hard to go on to the next step. You can't start sending them property within some kind of amorphous pricing price point because we don't really know what they can and want to afford, okay? What I just said there is important, what they can and want to afford, okay? So how are you gonna pay? Getting financing, have you talked to a lender? Or paying cash, great. So will you be able to provide me with a proof of funds terms so that I can demonstrate to listing agents and to home sellers that you can perform when we send them a contract offer that does not have a financing contingency. The motivated prospects, the legitimate prospects will say, sure, no problem. Of course I can provide that to you. If, however, you're getting a runaround on that, that could be a good sign that they might not be an ideal prospect for you. Okay, and then the number 5 question in qualifying is, are you talking to any other realtors? Or are you prepared to work with me? Now, of course, with the NAR settlement at the end of last year, October 2024, there is a new requirement as of that time to work with all buyers under a buyer-broker agreement, which does provide for clarity as to the nature of the relationship. And you're essentially, as a buyer, you're not going to have a buyer-broker agreement with more than one buyer, because now you've basically violated the terms of a buyer-broker agreement. Now, there's a few different types of buyer-broker agreements. Some are exclusive, others are non-exclusive. You'll work with your broker to ensure that you're using the proper documentation. Here in Florida, we are training agents both in our office and locally on how to be effective with a buyer-broker agreement. Of course, with a seller, you're signing a listing agreement. You can't list your property with more than one agent. And so the question has to be, are you talking to any other agents? How I would respond if you are is no problem, but ultimately you're going to choose who you want to work with, and my job is to demonstrate that I'm the right choice for you. Okay, those are the 5 qualifying questions: motivation, motivation scale, by when, how are you going to pay, are you talking to any other realtors? Then we move on to criteria. Okay, too many realtors, in my experience, start with, when they start talking to a buyer, the criteria, right? You want to buy a house? Great. How many bedrooms? What's the location? What's the square footage? You're starting with the wrong stuff, okay? Get these qualifying questions out of the way. Then you know if you've got a real prospect. Then start with the criteria. Okay, I know you're following me. Okay. Continuing on with our 5-part framework for ideal conversation. Remember, number 1 was relationship, number 2 is connection, number 3 is qualify, number 4 is game plan. Okay, you gotta make a game plan. Okay, Mr. Consumer, Miss Consumer, we've talked through all of these details. We have a thorough understanding of our objectives. We know what we're trying to do here. We know what we're looking to accomplish. Here's a game plan, right? You're the quarterback. You're the one who's gonna tell the consumer what to expect. Here's what it's gonna look like. Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna expect back in return for you. Unfortunately, I've experienced too many agents will say, okay, well, thanks so much, right? And then it's like, all right, what do I do next? The consumer doesn't know, so you got to make a game plan. Here's what's going to look like, here's the time frame we've established, and here's how we're going to do this. Okay, and then number 5, right, always be closing. Number 5 is close. But when I say close, what I'm specifically meaning is establish the next step, okay? Too many agents, in my experience, will have a conversation all the way up through number 4 that I've just laid out, and then say, okay, let me know, right? Or I'll talk to you soon. And of course, that's not an effective strategy as a sales professional, because you've got to establish the next step. So here's what that looks like. We have this great connection. I feel like we relate. I understand the goals and objectives. Here's our plan. And the next step is I'm going to send you the search for property. You'll get that in the next 24 hours. I will then contact you. Is 5 p.m. Thursday good, or is 6 o'clock better? Is evening, weekend, or daytime better for you? Okay, weekends, great. Saturday at 10, or is 12 o'clock better? You've got to clearly establish the next step for when you're going to communicate. All the money is in the follow-up, ladies and gentlemen. Real estate agents, hear me. All the money is in the follow-up. You might have a great first conversation, but if you don't have a clear game plan and a clearly defined next step, you might have just wasted your time, yours and theirs, right? So don't do that, okay? Make sure that you follow this 5-part framework. Within that 5-part, you follow the 5 qualifying questions that I gave you to ensure that you have the most effective conversations you can. It's going to lead you to maximize your time. Nobody wants to waste their time, and it's going to lead you to maximizing the experience. The consumer is going to say, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. They've really led me through this whole experience, this whole conversation. I'm totally clear on what's going to happen next. I'm totally clear clear on what I need to do, I'm clear on what they're going to do, and I feel really satisfied with where we're at in this step in my journey. Right? We take people through an experience. Your job is to give them the best experience possible. The way you're going to do that is with this thing, your mouth, to make sure you communicate effectively. All right, if you want to talk about this with me further, if you want to get more tips, more ideas on how to succeed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this content, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified when we share more content. And if you want to leave a comment, feel free to. We're going to interact and communicate in the comments. And if you want to reach out to me, if you feel like I could be a good coach for you, or if you're in the South Florida marketplace and you want to perhaps consider working with us, that would be awesome. Be totally open to that. Okay, more great content to come. Go make it count.